And welcome back to Coffee with the Wolves, presented by JJC Athletics. I'm your host, Damian Dennis, and this week we're going to be catching up with bowling. And joining me is interim coach Rachel Helfrich Tobin.
Hi, Damian. Thank you.
We've been trying to get you, specifically you, on the show for like a year now, and it's been a running gag here in the office. But now you had no excuse; you couldn't escape it.
I have no excuse, and happy to be here. And it's been an interesting year and semester for all of us. And my official role in JJC is Assistant Athletic Director for Compliance and Retention as of December. So moving into that role. And when Coach Bailey had to step aside this winter for personal health reasons and stepping into to GM the team. Keep saying I'm more of a general manager, handling business decisions and more than what's happening on the lanes. But I'm excited to be able to help make sure the students got to fulfill their season and fulfill our commitment to those student athletes and support them in those final tournaments and big travel this year. And be able to work with assistant coach Guy Carbonaro, as well as bring some volunteer coaches and Ricky Wessel and John Lizio. So those, getting Coach Lizio on loan to us from Joliet West. He's a girls coach. He went from coaching his high school girls to a second place finish in the state, and the next weekend joined us in New York and helped coach our women to a fourth place finish in the nation. So we're really fortunate to be able to do that, and I got to go along for the ride.
It's fun because you're just covering all the bullet points immediately. It's like, hey, get me off of this.
This is not my normal. I'm a behind the scenes kind of person, and being here and being a part of the team, I've learned a lot. So normally you probably don't have coaches who are like, these are all the things that I learned about the sport that I'm coaching. But I did and got to learn from the awesome student athletes that we have and the people that joined us and help make this nationals experience great for the student athletes and letting them shine. And that's really what I want to see.
So we're going to talk a lot about the team. Obviously, we have Madi Lave coming up, repeats national championship. But I want to ask first, kind of stepping into the interim coach role, you call yourself a GM. What has that been like for you? Because as you say, you're more of a behind-the-scenes person, kind of getting thrown in. When did you step in? Was it before their Vegas trip?
Yes. So I found out on Thursday that I was getting on a plane with the team on Tuesday. So we knew Coach Bailey's health was going to prevent him from making that trip, and was like, well, jump in, tag along, make sure everything goes smoothly for that college-sponsored trip, and thought, and hoped that Coach Bailey would recover and be able to return for the rest of the season. And unfortunately, as January rolled on, it wasn't happening, and so making sure that we had some consistency. So I went from being the only person in the building who doesn't have practice, who doesn't have those things, to going to the bowling alley every morning and watching them do what they do, and being able to set that up and make hotel reservations and figuring out charter buses with Coach Laferno, our travel arranger here, and learning so much from Paula about how to manage expenses and going to the bank and taking money out to be able to feed them. So it was lots of crash course of things that I don't normally do, that most of my colleagues do on a regular basis. And so it's definitely outside of my comfort zone, and being able to take some of that on and seeing what they do, but really learning a whole lot with the student athletes and their experience and seeing it from a different aspects. My desk job, right? Like, I send out the travel notices and tell you I'm not usually the one that's getting on the bus at 4 a.m. So that's been an adventure. Happy to be a part of that experience, and just making some memories that we can carry that. And I think it'll help me do my day job better, and understanding more of what our coaches and teams go through and how we can better support them. And especially, bowling it's our second year of the program. It's new to everyone. And being able to see it on such a large scale. The Vegas tournament is kind of the mecca for bowlers and where they got to bowl, and being able to see that and be a part of it. And seeing so many other teams, they were competing against more teams in Vegas than they did at nationals.
Yeah.
And so that was a lot to take in and a lot to see how that rolls. And kind of learning, what do other schools do and how do they make that through? And, everything is a little bit different for bowlers, their schedule and their diet and their needs and even coaching, is something that I didn't understand, going into it, and knowing that the work that they put into it, both from the bowlers and this, the student athlete aspect to the coaches even,
Yep.
and seeing that with both having a men's and women's team, in this program with the same set of coaches, and what that means when they are competing simultaneously, or competing, one and then the other, which creates really long days.
Yeah.
So, some different conditions and being able to get some firsthand experience. And as we look at how the program moves forward, I think that it's really important to be able to better support our coaches and the student athletes in that program.
Yeah. Now let's talk a little bit about the national tournament. Obviously, Madi repeats national champion. Women's placed fourth. Men, was it eighth?
Yep.
Yeah. So second year of the program, sustained success already. You're probably not the person to ask how to sustain that success, but seeing that success, being there, what can you speak to just the way these teams performed at the national tournament?
I think that is looking at the students and students coming in, and I've started doing some end of the season meetings with the student athletes and kind of learning, in the someone had mentioned their OG crew, because they are second year students, and most of our students this year that we took to nationals were repeat attendees from last year, and have been here for the entire life of the JJC bowling program. And so really understanding their experiences and what we can learn from that, and being able to see these are the factors that I think lead to their success, and being able to build when there's a good rapport and a good bond, and they can communicate with one another, they get some structure, and being able to pull that together, which allows them to build on those strengths, and finding that. And I think that, watching the men perform, they did 2 years and 2 years at nationals. The women moved up from fifth to fourth this year. Men, it was a tough battle for the guys. And, it would have been very difficult to break into the top five. But bowling scoring, is very interesting. And the way that it's done, and, there's some conversations, that I'll say I listened in on, during coaches meeting and things, in knowing that I've never, I had nothing to compare it to, but, as they look at passing new legislation of how they want it run and things like that. But as an outsider, being able to kind of look at this and be like, that's kind of weird. But, knowing, some of our guys bowled amazing games, and, excited where I can say sustaining the future, like, shout out for Colton Mall. He was our lone freshman on the men's team that bowled at nationals, and he did fantastic in the singles competition, and so that was really neat to see. And like his mom and brother were there, and it was fun to be a part of that. Family is very big in the bowling program, and they're very close knit and have awesome parents to help take care and get them the right snacks. They know they like green grapes and not red grapes, and I need to learn those things. And so I was like, man, you peel all the oranges for them? You're way nicer than I am. So things like that. But I'm glad that they have that support, and that obviously makes a difference, and being able to cultivate that to benefit the students, and just knowing that I learned a lot from even parents and learning how does this work, what does this do, and being able to motivate. 'Cause, I can make sure that everybody gets fed, and I'm a great cheerleader sometimes. But if you leave a 410 and a 4 and 10 pin, like I have no idea which one is the 4 pin, but or how to fix it, But that's where Coach Guy and Coach Ricky and Coach John come into play, and being able to help out with those pieces.
So, last question, we're going to talk a little bit about Maddie with her in the room, but her winning, the second time, what does that mean for JJC and, to you just to help her kind of get there?
I love it. And I'm, things that I get geeked out about and being excited, and I love to brag about our students. And Maddie, I love to brag about. And last year, like when she won, and knowing that, because as the advisor, right, like I can see, I know that she is doing great things in the classroom, doing great things in the bowling, and for a first-year student to win nationals in a first-year program, like that's amazing. And then to come back and do it again, and just being able to see there, and the difference being in the room, like seeing her stress and seeing her worries, and even after I told her, and she's like, "Are you sure? Are you sure it's final?" And about 3 times it was like, "Look, they promised me the scores are final, that everybody has those rows," and it just, that waiting part of the waiting game, is tough. And so being there, and I just, and came and watched the final scores and walked back to the table and looking for her, and said to Angela, who is one of our statisticians that came with us, and she said, and I was like, "Where'd she go? Who's going to tell her?" And she just yells, "Maddie!" So I was like, man, I should have gotten it on camera. But
so it seems like such a different story from what I heard last year, because last year, I remember we were here at a basketball game.
Yeah.
And we get a text, "Oh, apparently Maddie won." And you guys were, I'll ask her about it when she's on camera, but I'm pretty sure they were at the hotel when they found out, or something. Oh,
yeah. So that was literally scheduled. They post, and sometimes they it's old school. They'll print it out, and you have to go to the table and look. And I think last year they were waiting for it to populate on the website and post at the end of the day, and that was being able to be there. And then she had to turn around and jump into team competition, and that was super special. Watching the team bowl over 1,000 game. And that is, I don't know bowling, but I know good bowling, right? I've gotten to see a 300 game now 3 times in tournaments, and not from our students yet, but we're going to get there. But being able to see them come collectively, I understand math. And so for, that's an average of over 200 game per person, and, Maddie can bowl a game what I would bowl in a series. So it's really impressive to watch that and see them, and just that energy that can go with that. And that's something. And as I watched through that and learned how to cheer them on and how to make that happen.
Well, Rachel, I appreciate you taking the time. We're going to get Maddie on here next. But yeah, congrats to your team, you helping the team this year, stepping in amidst, the upheaval, I guess. But, congrats.
Thank you. Thanks, and congrats to them. I appreciate the opportunity to be in here and really represent some students and bring attention to some awesome student athletes who deserve that.
And now here on Coffee with the Wolves, I'm joined by national champion Madi Lave. Second time. How you feeling, Maddie?
I'm feeling great. It was a really fun experience to do it again. It's really interesting.
I talked about with Rachel there a moment ago. I know the story from last year. I want to kind of backtrack a little bit. The situations were different. Last year, you had no idea you won until you were told. This year, you wanted to know if you won. What's kind of what was going through your mind during this year's tournament, in waiting for those results?
Yeah, so it was definitely different from last year. I just went into it just bowling, just having fun. I didn't know, it was something brand new. I didn't know what I was going into. And last year the scores weren't working, so I didn't find out till the next morning in the hotel. So whereas this year I kind of went in knowing, I have a goal. I want to reclaim my title. So I went in and I knew what I had to do. So playing that waiting game to see if it was enough, it was definitely different.
It's difficult to repeat as a champion, and it's difficult to win in any sport, but then to repeat, what do you kind of credit that success to? Because, you just said last year you were just going to play. This year you were trying to win. Did something change in between, or, just what do you credit that success to?
I think it's just continuing to practice. Having to work with these coaches that I have and being able to repetition, just keep going there and showing up every day and practicing on what I need to work on, and it kind of paid off in the end. So just, practice.
What are bowling practices like? Because as kind of like Rachel, I'm very unfamiliar with bowling in a competitive scene. But what does practice look like for you guys?
So we usually have it in the morning at 8 a.m. We usually do like about 3 or 4 games every morning. So the first game I like to work on drills, no-step drills, or spares. And then second game, just trying to play a regular game and see where I need to play. And then third game, I'll kind of try and lock in there and score for a real game.
Yeah. So obviously we know you repeated. We know how you feel about that. That was your goal. You accomplished it. How do you feel about the way the women's team performed? You improved as a team from 5th place to 4th place, but you still just outside of that top 3, But how do you feel about the way the whole team performed?
I think there was definitely a lot of ups and downs, not even for the team, but like for me too. Like we were battling the whole time to try and stay in that spot and improve from last year. So there was, we had the highs and then there was definitely the lows. And just trying to work through that to kind of stay where we were at and even fight our way back in the end.
And speaking of highs and lows, I know Rachel had texted me, I think, before we knew you won the national championship. You didn't finish the singles competition strong, or at least in her words or your words, but you still ended up pulling out the victory. Could you explain kind of like what happened, like how you felt, or what happened in terms of making you feel like you didn't finish strong?
That was just me on my end. Like in the 10th frame, you want to finish strong. You want to pull out some strikes in a spare or doll strikes. Whereas me, I left an easy pickup. That's something that I should have made, and I chopped it. So that was just me not feeling strong enough to finish the way I wanted to, but it wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Did you have any doubts after that, oh no, did I miss my chance to repeat, or?
I did. There were definitely doubts because, missing a spare, it's kind of a lot in the bowling world, so.
I don't remember what the final scores were, but you had a little bit of a comfortable lead there, I'd say, but in bowling, I don't know what that means, I guess. So, like...
Yeah, I don't remember the exact pin difference, but I did have a little bit of cushion, but nothing too crazy.
It was like 30, 40 points. So.
Yeah.
But again, me not understanding competitive bowling, I don't know if that's a big difference or not.
No.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the men's side. Obviously, you practice together. You go to these tournaments together. How do you feel the men did, this year? And they improved as well.
Yeah, they definitely have it harder on their side, I think, and they battled too. I think they've improved so much from last year, and everyone is so close-knit, and we know how to make each other laugh and how to stay positive, so that also really helped them perform in the end. I think, we're all rooting for them in the back while they're bowling, so it was really great, but I think they definitely, it was hard to pull through, but they did it.
Yeah. Both teams, the whole program saw a lot of success this year despite, losing Coach Bailey to his health issues. Rachel stepping in as GM, as she likes to say. I think you didn't go to all the events you had scheduled, if I recall, but you still went on the Vegas trip, which I know from Kai and Tyler, they had a lot of fun. I'm assuming you had a lot of fun too.
Oh, yeah.
And other events, what's it like kind of overcoming all this adversity and kind of getting, just back to the top, especially for you, again, as champion, can't say it enough, champion.
It was definitely a really wild ride. Like I have never been to Vegas. I've never bowled on a level like that in Vegas against all those top schools. So being able to do that was it was really incredible. And then obviously we had some, you know, we weren't able to bowl in all the tournaments we were, but having to just practice again and kind of get ready for nationals again, all the way in New York and Buffalo, it was fun.
Yeah. Obviously, even though he wasn't there for half the season, Coach Bailey's impact clearly is still felt amongst this team. What can you say to his coaching style and just kind of his leadership of the program? And I don't know if he's had any involvement since he's been out. I don't know if he's texted or anything, but just kind of speak to him, kind of putting the program together and kind of laying the foundation for the culture.
Yeah, I mean, he set this whole program up. He was one of the reasons why I joined this team and why I did what I did. But he has reached out, and it was really, really nice to hear from him after what he's been dealing with. But, just being able to have him in the back, knowing the reason that's why I'm here and why I'm doing what I'm doing, and having all of our volunteer coaches come in and being able to form a relationship with them to kind of help succeed in the end, it was really sweet.
What's it been like having Rachel kind of there as acting coach when usually she said it herself, she's a behind-the-scenes person. She's been like an academic advisor for however long, and now she's compliance retention, but just having her step in and kind of guiding the team throughout the last half of the season.
It was really great. It was really nice to have a cheerleader back there. I was bowling, and I would see her back there with my mom, and it was really sweet. So it was really fun to have that kind of extra support.
Yeah. Is it weird to see her outside of the office setting then?
It was a little bit, but it was really fun. It was really fun. I had a great time.
Yeah. So starting to run out of time here, but what's next for you? I can't remember what your major is. I know we talked about it last year. I didn't want to ask, but what is your major again? And then what are your plans, moving forward, leaving JJC?
Yeah, so my goal is to major in medical sonography. I want to be an ultrasound technician, so I've applied for the program here, and we'll see how that turns out in a little bit, and if I'm going to stay with that or even kind of switch gears a little bit. But I think I'm going to take a little break from bowling and just try and finish school for the rest of the time.
Cool. Yeah, I remember that now. You said it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's what she said last year.
Yes.
I don't see a lot of the bowlers here, like, in this building. And not to be fair, I'm not here all the time myself. So, like, for all I know, you guys could be here every Wednesday, and I'd never know. But, congratulations on, the victory again, the success of the whole team, the whole program. Anything else you want to say, just kind of like about, your last season bowling for JJC?
Yeah, it was really bittersweet. I truly, like, now that I'm kind of sitting here just thinking about the really close family we kind of had and how I became such close friends with all these new people. It was really incredible, and I didn't think I was going to be able to do that, kind of coming to a new school. But it was really great, and I'm definitely going to carry these memories for a long time, and I'm excited to see kind of what the program has for the future.
Cool. Well, Maddie, I appreciate you taking the time to come here. I know we drug you out like 9 in the morning, something like that, but congrats again, and to everyone watching, it's been Coffee with the Wolves. We'll be back next week.